Today on the show, we're joined by Leo Blake, creator of Metal Gear Network, the first major Metal Gear fan website, and one of the people behind Millennium Publications' Metal Gear Solid Official Mission Handbook.
Hey, I'm Fingers.
Hey everyone, this is Days Ahead.
And I'm Nitroid. You're listening to the Kojima Frequency. The reunion panel later. Are you going to watch that?
Yeah, I mean, my expectations are extremely low.
Well, I mean, people think that voice actors are going to have insider information.
Well, no, I mean, of course, obviously, I don't think they're going to reveal anything at all. But I just wonder how much of I'm more interested in the discussion and how it's going to go, because I've been on a voice call with David Hayter before, and he's an interesting character.
We need to get him on the show.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where if he's in the mood to talk about Metal Gear, it's usually going to be pretty good because he has a lot to say. But if he's not really in the mood, like there was a couple of years there where I felt like he was just sick of talking about Metal Gear. And it just totally shows when he talks. He's just like, no, I'd really rather talk about my movie Wolves coming out, And it's just like,
yeah, when you're on the promo
Hey,
circuit and everybody's like, yeah, but that one thing you did, it's like, shit, man.
Yeah, I was on like a little, I don't even know what you want to call it. It was like an announcement little podcast when, I don't know if you guys remember this. It was a few years back when a group supposedly got the permission from Konami to work on a Metal Gear remake.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Yeah. And so they asked me to come on, and they asked David to come on, and we were all going to talk about it. And anyways, long story short, he was totally down, and he wanted to talk about it for like 15 minutes. And then after that, all he wanted to do was plug his movie Wolves. And it was just so awkward. You could just tell he could care less about anything but his movie at the time. So it was just interesting.
I got to get you to tell a story about David Hayter because it's one of my favorite stories that you have. Where
okay,
back in the day, back in the before times, on Metal Gear Net, didn't he show up in a chat room or something like that?
Yeah, he's shown up. I'm not exactly sure which incident you're referring to though.
Like this was like the early days of the site. But I remember hearing you tell the story once that he showed up in a chat room and nobody thought it was him.
No, actually, that was someone else.
What was the deal with that?
That was that was paramedic. So I had scheduled an interview with oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Heather Haley, whatever. And we had talked that day. We had talked on the phone for like 2 hours. She's the most absolute sweetest lady. And
oh yeah, I've talked to her before. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's just an absolute gem. And we were just getting to kind of getting to know each other. And because she was asking, she didn't really know about the fan side or anything. She obviously knows the broad community and the fan base and all. But yeah, no, that was an incident where I actually got her. I made her a Twitch account, and I got her to join in chat during one of the OHN marathons when I used to be a guest streamer on there. And so she joined, and like nobody believed her that it was her. and I was one of the mods at the time, and I was also one of the guest streamers, and I was just like, guys, no, this is really her. I promise you. Like this, she's obviously she's not tech savvy. She's not savvy to Twitch. And this was obviously early days of Twitch. And And it was just like, it was funny at first because chat was totally just ripping on her and just like, oh, I can't believe the fake you're trying to bring in a fake. And I'm just like, no, this is really her, guys. Can you please be nice? And so,
Okay.
yeah.
Hold on. Okay. Hold on. I distinctly remember this happening in like the 90s though. Like early 2000s, late 90s time period where, do you remember how Metal Gear Net had that little web browser chat room, right?
Yeah, so we had like a chat, and yeah, I think there was a time when David Hayter joined. I have kind of a bunch of Hayter stories, but yeah, there was a time where he joined that for sure. Yeah.
And like, yeah, that was what I remembered, was like the same,
okay.
basically the same thing happened then. And like, he had to send you an email or something. I don't remember it. It's been so long, but that apparently seems to happen on the regular.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That one, the details escape me. You know, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because I was literally sitting there the other day thinking to myself, you know, the more and more the years pass on, the more and more a lot of the details of these stories I actually forget.
Yeah.
Just because I don't talk to people about these things, right? Other than people like you, right?
Yeah.
And so like I was like,
Sitting
I really
on
need
the
to write
porch,
this
like,
stuff
"Do you
down.
remember back when?"
I need to either write this stuff down or I just need to record myself talking about it.
You need to get on the Internet Archive if you haven't already and just back up everything from the old sites.
I know.
Like, it's still there, man. I remember going there the first time as a teenager. I can't remember how old I was. I was young. Because you launched that site, what, like 1997?
96. It was the tail end of 96.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So I think I showed up like a year after, and I still remember that picture you had on the front page. It was like a Metal Gear Solid anime rendition poster by Nobuyoshi Nishimura. And it like, I just remember that so distinctly, like, oh man, this is so cool looking. I bet this site's going to be awesome. And then I spent the next several years being a total shitlord there.
Yeah, no, yeah. I actually, it's funny because I still have all the original files for the website.
You do?
Of
That's
every iteration of the website. Yeah, I still have them.
You were like the pioneer for like Metal Gear fan sites, man. Like you're the one that started it.
Yeah, I'm old.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for calling me out. Yeah.
No, like in all seriousness, like I've wanted to tell you this for a while, and I'm not gonna do it in a Discord chat, but like, I've gotten to know you a little bit over the years, but I don't know. There's still a part of me that's like a little kid inside that's still a little starstruck because I was like, you know, this is the guy who made that site that I love, and like he worked on like you worked on the Metal Gear Solid Millennium Guide, which is like bar none the gold standard for video game strategy guides to this day, in my opinion. Like nothing has come close to that.
Yeah, I was really proud of that thing. Yeah, I was really proud of that thing. It was awesome.
And then we get like the Metal Gear Solid 2 Brady Games guide, and it's just terrible. I'm like, who did this?
I know, it's kind of, and then you got the ones that come out now, and they're pretty amazing now.
Yeah, but the pennyback guides are. Is it the piggyback? Piggyback. That's it, right? Yeah. Where they're like hardcover and tons of art, and like I think the Metal Gear Solid 4 one had like a Shinkawa lithograph in it, and just cool stuff like that.
They're amazing.
But like you were telling me a while back when you guys were making the guide that there was a lot of back and forth communication with Konami, talking to Kojima, getting like answers on specific character biographies and info, and I mean you even had interviews with the staff, and that was not something you ever saw in guides back then.
No, and I'll be honest with you, the person who deserves a lot of credit for that is Dave Halverson, and he's, at least at the time, was kind of like not a liked person within gaming print media. I don't know all the details, but I just know that like he used to tell me, he's like, I don't have a lot of fans, and he has been like the editor in chief of a lot of gaming magazines, and I remember he told me that they were very lucky to get the contract to do the guide, the Millennial Guide for Metal Gear Solid. And when he contacted me, he was just like, I want to do this right. I want to do this right. I want to do this justice to Kojima. And he's just like, so he's like, I am asking you to help guide us in as far as like, what do you think should be in the guide? What details do you think? And it was pretty amazing. And I'll be honest with you, I was so young at the time. I just thought it was cool and kind of neat that I was being able to participate in such a thing. I think if like the older me would have been approached to something like that, I think I would have been losing my mind because I didn't realize, like what a big deal it was. And so the fact that all through the process of making that guide, he would share things like, he literally would come to me and ask me, hey, what do you think about this detail? Like I'm talking about this. He would give me character bios and tell me things about this. And I would question him. I'd be like, where the hell did you get that piece of information? Like, I don't know that. Like, where did you get that from, Konami or, the staff? And he's just like, no, I am taking some creative liberties with some things, but yes, the majority of the stuff he got from Kojima Productions.
And that's funny because like at the
KCJ at the time.
Yeah. That book was like the Bible for Metal Gear at the time. Like arguments were waged, and anytime there was a disagreement, it was like, well, this passage says that Big Boss was here in this year. like entire arguments were held over the details of that guide, and it turns out that a lot of it, like, how much would you say was sort of I don't want to say ad-libbed, but how much of it was added in versus how much came from Konami, would you say?
I just remember when he was doing a lot of the character bios, he did tell me he took some, Dave Halverson specifically told me he took some creative liberties. And it was just oddball oddities because he would send me a draft of what they were working on. And I'd be like, okay, I don't know where you got that from, but where are you going with this? And so we'd have an email back and forth about it. But I didn't really, at the time, I didn't, because I'll be completely honest with you, I've never been a lore person myself. And I do not really, at least, I guess maybe nowadays I kind of do more, but at least back then, I did not care about the details too much. So to me, I was more concerned about the other aspects of the guide, which I feel very proud of my contribution to the guide, where I specifically was like, I had very specific requests. I was like, I swear to God, Dave, if you don't put a ton of Shinkawa artwork in this, I don't want any part of this. Like, I was just like, Yoji Shinkawa's artwork is like godly. I was like, you need to put a lot of that in there. And then other aspects where we actually got permission from KCJ to put in the actual 3D rendered maps of each level. And you know how they're kind of at a perspective where you can actually see them. Yeah. So that was like a little detail that we were very proud of to put in there. And other things like that. And just the look and feel of the guide. You'll notice, though, a lot of the look and feel of the guide was very reminiscent of the magazine that they were all part of then as well. It was just kind of their style.
It did kind of have a magazine touch to it, yeah.
It did.
And then you had the detail in the back where if you wanted to see all the secrets, you had to actually rip the page open to get into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just things like that, man. Yeah, that's
but really, like, for us, it was definitely, and obviously I played such a small part that I didn't even get credit in the magazine, and I didn't even care. I was just happy to be a part of the project. But the biggest compliment, because it was such a labor of love, was when he told me about his one-on-one meeting with Kojima and the team, and then they presented the guide to him, and he went through it, and the compliment he gave us was, he's like, this is the perfect guide. This is even better than the Famitsu Japanese counterpart that they had released in Japan. And he was so pleased with it. So that was like, to us, that was it. That was like, okay, we got his blessing on this. He said we did an awesome job. And so, yeah, we were super proud of that.
Yeah, that's crazy high praise.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as somebody who's dealt with Konami directly in a lot of ways, just not just through the guide, but through the fan site, what do you make of all this hubbub about the restructure going on?
They're not making games anymore.
They're shutting down.
IPs.
Hold.
Sell Konami. Buy Doge.
Hold the line.
Been a crazy week.
I've been part of this community for so long, and even before the whole divorce between Kojima and Konami, fans have been wanting Konami to do things that they weren't doing currently, even Kojima, right? And so that stuff, honestly, I've conditioned myself so much to just filter all of that stuff that it literally just bounces off me, and I don't even react to that stuff anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing your own stuff for the most part now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when I just, because I'm so inundated in that the whole fan base, where, I mean, I literally get tagged in like 100 tweets a day on things that I just don't care about, or like people's opinions they feel very strongly about. And, it's just, the fan base is widely, it's just, there's so many different opinions, so many different feelings, and so I know how I feel about it, and
much of it not informed.
So what, did they tag you to like validate their opinions or what?
Yes, a lot of times. Wow. Or they just tag me because they want me to see what they're talking about, or whatever the thing is. But like, yeah, I mean, the whole thing, I feel like, and I feel like you do too, Nitro. I feel like we just have a much more realistic view on things. Like we always take the, when people talk, I hear this at least 100 times a day. I'm like, I wish Sony would buy the Metal Gear IP from Konami, and I'm always just like, do you even know what you're saying? Even if, let's say Konami never made a Metal Gear game again, and they were only exploiting the IP for other things like mobile games or this or that or the other, do you realize that's still worth more to them than a one-shot sale to any company? Like, we're talking about one of the most valuable IPs, period. So dude, it's like, it's not going to be a quick transact. Like Blue Point's going to come up to them and be like, hey, we'll give you $10 for the Metal Gear IP. It just doesn't work
Sold.
that way. Yeah.
We got to pump and dump Metal Gear stock.
There's always, and this is sort of a symptom of a greater issue, but I always feel like, I may have mentioned this before, gamers tend to have this weird view of how like corporations, or I guess development teams work, both in terms, like the example I can think of is every time you see some comment where a gamer's like, or a player's like, hey, why didn't you fix this bug, but you fixed this bug? Why can't you add this feature instead of focusing on this? And, you can clearly tell they don't quite understand the software development process. And then in the context of this Konami email, like I get organizational change emails from my job every day. I'm a dirty corpo, to be honest. And yet, like, that's why when I saw this email, I made a joke, but I there was no suggestion to me that something major was going to happen. It was just another corporate organizational restructure email.
It doesn't mean anything at the consumer level.
Exactly. But people took it as kind of this next big step for the Konami IPs, and as much as they would like to have that drama, that's just not how it works. Especially when there's actual money involved.
Yeah, and that's what it is, drama. I mean, it's a combination of people just being either misinformed or not informed. This need for drama to fill, their news cycle or whatever you want to call it. And there's, like we said before in the past, an element of just magical thinking to it, where they think this,
Right.
they romanticize the process, and they think it's more, to put it how you did, dramatic than it actually is. But like, every single day somebody's asking for the remake or pushing a remake rumor, and I'm it's kind of a fruitless endeavor to try and stay ahead of it. I'm just turning into like the withered Wojak at this point, where it's like, hey honey, it's 4 a.m. time for your regular Metal Gear rumoring, and I just can't fucking take it anymore. Ugh.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like and it's funny too, because for a long time too, this is pre Kojima Konami divorce. People were always talking about a Metal Gear remake, but not in the sense that they do now. They were more talking about, we'd like another remake, right? Like the Silicon Knights version or whatever, like, Twin Snakes, we don't like that version. We want another group to do it or another company to do it. And then there was always these independent indie companies that were trying to pitch their like, hey, let us do it. Let us do the remake. And I always kind of shut those down as well, because I was just like, yep. Like they always get some kind of traction with the fan base. And then I'm always just like the complete wet towel. And I'm just like, yeah, unless Konami gives it the okay, it's not going to happen. So just give up the dream. Like,
and Konami does have, there is a precedent in Konami for licensing out their IPs to other developers, to American developers even, to make their games, like they did with the Silent Hill series or Castlevania. So what's holding them back on Metal Gear? Are they just kind of waiting to pull the trigger? Is it just so tied up in red tape still after Kojima's been gone for 5 years that they just don't know what to do with it? Like, it's strange that they are just sitting on it, It honestly is. I mean, I'm not going to get into the conspiracy mindset here and say, oh, they're just, it's all coming together. Look at the Pepe Silva map. Like, that's not what I think, but it is strange that in 5 years, we've had a spin-off that started development almost at the exact same time Kojima was heading out the door, and that's it. There's really nothing else. So what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of red tape, but I also think they are a bit. This, of course, this is just coming from me, so don't take anything that I say as like I know something, because I don't. I know as much as everyone else. Is that I also think there's probably a little bit of intimidation factor in there, where they realize that they have this IP that everyone still talks about so much and holds so dear, and they realize that it's tied to one person for the most part, and that I think they realize that anything they do, I mean, Survival's a great example of this. Anything they do with the Metal Gear IP is going to be under such scrutiny and such criticism that I just think that they're either waiting for the perfect opportunity, the right time, the right people, and I think the fact that they don't have to rush things either is something in Konami's advantage. I think
we're good on money.
Yeah.
We're chilling.
Yeah.
We're fine. Yeah, Metal Gear, we'll get to it maybe. But.
It kind of
just as simple as they don't need to.
Well, and it kind of reminds me in a way, I don't want to make a direct comparison because I know fanboys will freak out on me, but it kind of reminds me in the way of, for so many years, people talked about a Final Fantasy VII remake. And I used to tell people all the time, just like, dude, Square will do a Final Fantasy remake when they're damn ready to. Like, they're doing fine on everything else. It's not like their company is about to go under and they need an injection of cash, right?
Which was ironically the reason for Final Fantasy.
Right. What was the old joke, like, in case of emergency, break glass for Final Fantasy VII remake?
Exactly. So I tell people nowadays, I'm just like, listen, Konami will do it when the time's right. Everyone on the board thinks it's going to be the right business move financially and everything else. All the ducks align, and then it'll happen. I still take them at their word when they say that they're still putting together the team, that they say, yes, we're still interested in making another AAA game. But obviously, considering the circumstances that evolved towards the end of the Phantom Pain's release, listen, they lost their biggest asset. They lost their director, they lost the creator, the founder, they lost a lot of the key staff members, although the majority
is lost
the
right word,
Okay, whatever. But you know what I mean? But from a structural standpoint, they have to find a new director, a new person who's going to head all these things. And it's not like they don't have it. Although I'm not convinced that maybe the right people actually currently work at Konami right now. And you know what? Who's to say that Konami's also just waiting for the right move and say, you know what? We don't think we can do this internally as a company anymore. So we're just waiting for the right business deal to happen if we were to license out this IP and let someone else take a stab at this. So who knows?
If they do license it, I mean, that's going to open up the floodgates. For better or worse, we're going to see the series just spread everywhere.
And then too, the blame isn't on them as much too. It's like, oh, that's Bluepoint's fault. Like whoever the dev is,
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where I think when people, the Final Fantasy VII remake is a good comparison because although, do you remember back when talk of the 7 remake first came up? It was actually started by Square at the time. I can't remember if they were Squaresoft then or if they were already Square Enix, but they said that when the PlayStation 2 came out, they had plans to do, I don't remember the terminology, it was either a remake or a remastering or something for Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 on the PlayStation 2. That was their plan, was to go back and revisit those games on a better platform. Do you remember this?
Yeah, sure.
It might just be me. I'm telling you, I can go and find the old article.
No, I think I do. I do.
I mean, my starting point was when they had that. I think it was like the preview of the PlayStation 3 back in what was it?
Right.
And they had that clip of Cloud walking out in Midgar, and everybody was freaking out. And then, of course, we didn't get the actual game till a decade later. But
yeah, and that started with the PS2 because one of the tech demos shown off for the PlayStation 2 was the Squall Renoa dance scene CG movie, like the FMV for that, but done in real time on a PS2. That was one of their tech demos, and then the conversation started where, yeah, we're looking at doing 7, 8, and 9 on the PS2. But then the Final Fantasy movie happened, and they lost $100 million. So that kind of put the kibosh on that. I mean, this is old history, but that idea of a 7 remake persisted. It persisted into the PS3 and then finally into the PS4. So I mean, even though Square started it, the fan demand, trying to, put enough smoke out there to start a fire, ironically. I don't know how many times I've used that phrase, but that was the idea. If you generate enough hype about something that doesn't exist, maybe it will manifest. And that is, I think, what's going on with the Metal Gear Solid remake, is that people, I think most of the reporting, most of the blogs doing this just want attention. But I also think there might be an element of, well, if we drive enough hype towards this idea, maybe Konami will pick up will grab the baton and run with it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to work. I think Konami is old school Japan corporate, and Konami's going to do what Konami wants to do. They're very stubborn headed, like Nintendo in that way. And I think Konami's, the way I picture it going down, honestly, is I think they're going to start development on whatever new Metal Gear thing it is. I don't want to call it Metal Gear 6, but whatever it is. And it'll eventually get leaked through the Japanese press. And then they'll make just a kind of surprise announcement, and they'll be like, yeah, we've been working on this for 2-3 years. It's, it's about 30% of the way through, and we don't have a release date yet. And I think it's going to go down that way. And I don't think in the internet will explode. A fan base, they'll just be like, oh my gosh, what do we, and then let the speculation fly. But I don't think it's going to go any other way than that, because I think Konami they're going to do what they do. And they don't, as long as I have been covering this company, they have almost never fallen to pressure from fans, to pressure from the media, to anything. They literally just do whatever they do, very much in the essence of Kojima. With the exception of maybe Metal Gear Solid 4, like Kojima always just did what he wanted to do, and he's still that way. And so I think the fan base and just people in general are going to always speculate, and they're always going to think, oh, this is happening. And it kind of sucks because like people like you and me sit there and we're just like, every time a new article comes up talking about, oh yeah, it's already in the works, guys, and it's being made by Blue Point. I'm just like, okay.
And not just the Metal Gear Solid remake, but Silent Hills as well.
Oh my god.
For 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, and I only say this because I've been like gorging myself in this game lately, but I wonder if there may be an approach similar to the RE2 remake, where they build a game, whether that's part of the Metal Gear IP or not. They develop this technology or this tool that enables them to, efficiently and successfully make like a stealth genre game or an action game, sort of like the RE engine with 7, and then use that as a kind of a proof of concept for the remake that everybody demands.
So that's interesting. Because I feel like Capcom is kind of an outlier here, because a lot of Japanese development companies are starting to shift towards engine licensing rather than in-house development for their engines.
Mm-hmm.
The common practice used to be you'd have a company and they would make a new game and they would develop an engine from scratch, and then most of the time they would just shove it in a closet and move on to the next game and make a whole nother engine from scratch. Which is, you think about that today and it's insane. And Konami with Pro Evolution Soccer or whatever it's called now, what is it? What do they call it now? eFootball Winning 11. Which is
that rolls off the tongue.
Okay. Yeah, but
Sports ball.
So Sports Ball 2021. They're currently using the Unreal Engine to develop it. So is that an indication that Konami is pivoting towards using tools to cut costs or cut development time? Because making an engine from scratch is going to be a more costly, more time-consuming endeavor than just saying, hey, let's get Unreal. Everybody already knows how to use it. We've got all these examples. We've got endless amounts of experience out there that we can draw from. Let's just use that to develop our games. I mean, is that what we're going to see, is a Metal Gear someday made in Unreal?
I mean, it makes sense from a business standpoint, right? But ultimately, I think if whoever that person is going to be that's directing the game, I would expect them to have at least some amount of technical prowess that they would make that call, because, Kojima, he could have used a licensed engine when he was working on the Phantom Pain, or, to be frank, any of his games. But they just found it more efficient to do it internally. And so, I don't know. I definitely think because of the fact that these engines have become easier to use, they've become, actually seems like a little less expensive to license as well. I think, in fact, the Unreal Engine contract agreement seems very reasonable to me. And then the fact that they also they have a lot of support from third-party softwares that work with their engine as well, gives them more incentive to actually opt in to use something like an Unreal Engine. But I don't know if that's always the case, though, because I think I would look at a company like Square Enix, and they've been using the Crystalis engine for a lot of their newer stuff too, haven't they?
No, they switched over to Unreal. In fact, a big part of why Final Fantasy 15 finally came out was that they were struggling to develop the game. You know, I don't remember if it was during or after it had stopped being Versus and started being 15, but at some point they stopped using that engine and pivoted over to Unreal, and the game was done much quicker. I mean, there's interviews talking about this. So
I see. I didn't know they actually made that full switch.
Yeah. And you look at Metal Gear, and it's hard to tell in the past 5 years what's changed internally, because it's, they're a black box right now. We don't know what's going on the inside, but
they've always been that way.
Yeah. The last we know is that Yuji Korikato was essentially holding the reins, right? And he comes from an engineering background. So that's something to keep in mind moving forward. If he is still calling the shots, there's an engineer in charge of the series right now. So take that how you will.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think Konami lately has made a more business approach decision-wise to a lot of these decisions. But I could actually see someone like the director coming in and saying, yeah, it does make business sense to use the Unreal Engine, but I also feel like we have the tools and the developers and the minds here to create our own in-house engine. You have to remember as well is Konami also has their own kind of internal university where they farm up their own people to bring into the company. And so, they feel very comfortable in their ability to do things internally. So I don't know. It's a good question.
And I'll say this, it just blows my mind that there is not some sort of Metal Gear mobile gacha already. Like, how is that not a thing?
Yeah.
Don't throw that into the universe, Nitroid.
Just throw that pachinko on mobile.
Make it an acid game. Oh, I gotta correct myself. I was thinking of Final Fantasy VII Remake being in Unreal. 15 is on the Luminous engine. You're right.
I knew it.
Yeah, I was wrong. I got him confused. I could have swore I read an interview, though, about how they had to switch over and that somehow streamlined development.
Know how I knew that? Is because
you played a shit ton of 15.
Well, yeah, and that game has horrible optimization. So I'm just like,
yeah.
Really? That's Unreal Engine? Really?
I was bound to get something wrong eventually.
Now you got me thinking of the original Final Fantasy XIV, where like the potted plants had more polygons than the actual characters.
Oh god!
I remember trying to run.
I
remember trying to run the benchmark for that Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, and I just remember it just melting my computer.
Man, okay, Leo is the guy to talk to about Final Fantasy XIV, and I still feel bad that I started playing, and you gave me all of this stuff to get me started, and then I just stopped.
That's all right. I knew you'd quit after 2 weeks.
I feel like such a heel. I know I need to try it again, but I just I can't get over that initial hump. I'm terrible with MMOs.
Nitroid, and I'm not trying to define Leo's experience, but you like a friend of giving you like MMO resources that we expect you. There's like a 50 when we give you those resources as a noob, we expect a 50% chance that you're going to quit in 2 weeks and not use any of it. Like the inherent risk is there.
I'm so ashamed.
I thought it was hilarious though when I'm like, okay, join this server that I'm on. I'm like, here's our mansion. You have all these resources. I'm like, here's 2 million gil. And I remember you just freaking out because I give you 2 million gil. And I'm just like, he has no idea how much gil I have on me. This is cute. But go ahead, have fun, Nitroid.
Was this before they fixed like the housing situation?
I feel like the housing situation's always been messed up. But I was lucky. I was very lucky to be able to nab a place when everything first launched. So
it's like getting like real estate in San Francisco in the 90s.
It's really bad. I feel so bad for new players that get into the game and they're like, oh, this is so great. It's so awesome. I want to buy a house. And it's just like, yeah, about that.
I know nothing about this stuff.
What did you If you don't mind me asking, Nitroid, what did you play? Did you even get to the jobs? Okay, I think that answers my question.
I named my character Dingo Egret though, and he had white hair, so I'm proud of that.
Nice. Was he from Mars?
Of course.
Okay, good.
I got a chocobo, and I was like, well, it's all downhill from here.
They are doing that voice panel right now. That voice
don't-
actor panel. It's starting right now.
Yep. So was that live or pre-recorded? Are they taking questions?
I thought it was pre-recorded.
I
okay.
thought it was pre-recorded.
Yeah. Well, then they
okay, so
premiered
no
the video.
questions.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So I was thinking,
Yeah.
like, man, Super Chat's going to be wild, and it's just going to be people asking the actors to read stupid lines in character. Like, Mr. Clark, could you please say in your most serious voice possible, "D's nuts"?
Yo, that's what Cameo is for. Get that shit out of here. But to that point, one of the questions, or like part of my motive in terms of like actually having good questions if we have these guests, is the con circuit and dealing with so many situations where like people wait in line for like 50 minutes to ask a question, and it's always like a shitty question. Like in the Warcraft panels, like somebody will come up, wait for 50 minutes to get in line and be like, hey, I'm from this guild. When are you guys gonna increase the bag limit? Like just wasting everyone's time, and I don't want to be that guy.
Do you think that they miss the con circuit as much as the con goers?
Yeah, that's what pays
I'm
their
sure they
bills.
miss the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure they miss those fat paychecks.
All right, maybe I should have thought that question out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Hayter came here to my city, and he came to the local con here, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I'll go visit David." And then I saw how much he was charging for a photograph and an autograph. I was just like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." Like, I'm a mega fan, but I'm still just like, "Yeah, I'm good."
Yeah.
Wonder how much he charges for a voicemail. I'm sure he's done like 1 billion of those.
All I know is I've been conned on Cameo. Okay, I tried to get Otacon to say some stuff, and he sent me a very actually polite reply back. But then he sent me my money back, and he was like, "I'm not saying that."
All right, what
I was
did you send
scammed.
It
him?
makes
was
me wonder.
scammed. I was scammed, huh?
What did
It
you?
makes me wonder what you wanted him to say.
Oh, I just wanted.
Wait, do you want us to cut this?
No. I just wanted him to admit everything that he did in the Phantom Pain, and he was just like, "No, I refuse to do it." He gave me this long kind of like passionate message about like that wouldn't have been like Kojima would not be okay with me saying this and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, it's more. I'm just doing it more for a joke, and I'm gonna send this to a friend of mine. It'll totally trigger him. It'll be hilarious. But he was just like, "No, I refuse to say this."
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
For a second there, I thought that you were like when you said that he would refuse to say it, I wasn't even thinking about the Kojima angle. I was thinking that he was legitimately like trying to defend Huey, which in my mind is hilarious.
That's a bridge
but
too far.
Yeah.
Oh,
Huey did nothing wrong.
I would have paid $100 for that.
I literally wrote him a script of what to say. Like, "Yeah, Snake, it was my fault. I did everything. The nuclear inspection was my fault. I knew what was happening." Like, and he was just like, "No, I'm not saying that."
Oh God, I wish
well-
you'd been able to do that.
I don't know.
There is a lot of like Metal Gear internet stuff, non-impactful Metal Gear stuff happening this week. There's the voice actor panel, and then I know I actually have it on behind me. OHN is doing their like 3 to 5 day Metal Gear run where they just kind of go through the series, and that's been pretty fun so far. I think that, and this is just speculation, but I think that the whole GameStop stock situation came in there because I saw 2 things while I've been watching today. First and foremost, I used the Dogecoin that we all got last night, and I don't know if people are aware of this, but when 3Dog and crew stream Metal Gear Solid 1, they have a donation initiative where you can donate towards killing Meryl, or saving her life. Like everybody knows what the canon is, but this really gets engagement with the fans. I put the money I got, some of the money I got from Dogecoin last night to save Meryl. And then usually it gets around, like 100 and some change, but somebody dropped like $1,001 to get Meryl killed. And I'm starting to wonder
Holy shit.
Yeah, people were freaking the fuck out. And like, spoiler alert, she didn't make it. But I was wondering if, maybe it was some fortunate Wall Street bet user who was spreading the wealth, I guess. And then later on that day, when the GameStop stock was going down, somebody also made a donation, like right before, Three Dog was going to make his decision with Meryl. But it didn't say any decision. All it said was, don't sell, don't sell, don't sell. And Three Dog was like, well, I'm not going to put that in either bucket, but thank you for the donation. So it's been like really weird experience overall. But if anybody, it's going to be over by the time we release this, but still follow the Outer Heaven Network. They always have this type of shit going on. And hopefully we can get them on here.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So Leo, when are you going to have a Metal Gear marathon?
Dude, I could not do what those guys do. I could not stay up for like 35 hours and stream.
Furthermore, when are you going to stream MGS2 on European Extreme?
I already did it, man.
Do it.
You weren't there for
No,
it.
because I wasn't there for it, so it doesn't count.
Oh, it happened.
I was there.
It happened. I did it.
I don't believe you.
You're a bad friend, Nitro. Even I was there.
Hurts.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was fun. I was actually really sad to have finally done it because it was
killed the
such
meme.
it was such a meme in our Discord, and everyone was always just like, everyone always makes fun of me because I don't play the games on European Extreme like on the regular, and I'm always just like, I get you guys love it because everyone watches OHN and people like the speedrunners and all that stuff. I'm just like, I promise you, I just like playing these games for fun. So I play on normal just so I can get through it. And I don't have to be that guy who's constantly failing on stream and who wants to watch someone who's constantly causing an alert or something like that. So when I finally did it, it was kind of like very anticlimactic. Just like, Raze was kind of tough. Vamp was easy because I used the speedrunner strat. I used when I fought the Tengus, I used the door hack. I got through that, and then the second Tengu fight, I just used the speedrunner tactic on that. So it was just kind of very anticlimactic. But then people weren't satisfied with that, so I did MGS3 European Extreme, and then I didn't do 4, and I think I played 1 on the highest difficulty. But yeah, I actually kind of wish I never did it because I enjoyed the meme.
So I'll let you make it up to me, but you got to stream Alien Isolation.
Ooh,
dude, I don't like scary games.
I dare you. I know you don't. That's why I'm saying you should do it. Because my favorite clip is still you playing the Resident Evil 3 demo and getting a fucking haymaker from Nemesis.
Dude, seriously, like Resident Evil 2 gave me multiple heart attacks, man. Like that.
I was gonna bring that up. Like, I'm the same way with Resident Evil. Like, I'm a huge fiend. I try to unlock everything, but when it comes to a casual playthrough, I'm doing first run, standard mode. Like, I'm going to enjoy myself. Sorry, go ahead and continue.
I love those games, especially Resident Evil 2, I thought just looked absolutely amazing. But that game literally literally gave me so many. And then what was funny about my run when I did it is that everyone's like, you should install the DMX mod for that thing. And so I did it, and it ended up, it kind of made it not as kind of scary or whatever, but it was still just like, there's a clip, I still have the clip somewhere, when he bursts through the wall, Mr. X, I literally like almost dropped the controller. I was like, it was just, those games are, yeah.
I just wish they hadn't screwed up 3.
Yeah, that was.
Did you play Resident Evil 7 though, the VR?
Yeah, and that is like
Oh God.
7 in VR, man, is like, okay, 7 has like the typical Resident Evil problem of like falling apart in the third act.
Yep.
Like they just can't stick the landing on these games, but that first third of the game, when you're in like the
Shit
house,
was scary.
is phenomenal.
Yeah, that was back to like horror time.
Yeah, as a whole, that game I would rate like unironically like a 7 out of 10. But with VR, it's like 9.5 out of 10 because it just elevates it that much. It was terrifying. I was sweating the whole time. Like I waited to play 7 until I had PSVR. So like I'm really disappointed that 8 doesn't have support for that because that looks like a game that would be amazing in VR and just, it's not going to happen.
Just take your head and get straight up into those Lady D pillows.
Right.
Sorry.
God, that got memed so fast.
I was hoping that they would have at least some kind of VR support or maybe even cross-platform VR support because that is the one thing I am envious of as a PC VR player is that you guys got RE7.
Yeah, didn't Sony pay like $1 million for exclusivity on the VR option? Something crazy like that?
I don't know, but I believe it.
And nothing for 8.
And to the point of like the whole third act, I did see somewhere where like they had the map of that village and somebody was like, okay, circle where you think the sterile lab is going to be in Act 3.
You guys know way more about the series than I do.
If you've played one, you've played them all. I hate to say that. They're all good in their own ways, except for 6. 6 is terrible.
Let me ask you guys a question, since you guys are obviously familiar with the series. Do you guys like the direction they're taking now, where everything's in first person rather than third person?
I don't think it'll last.
I saw a clip the other day where they put, I think it was 7 in third person view. I guess it was just some mod or something. And I was watching them play it, and I don't know. I think that game itself might be better in first person, but I do miss old school third person Resident Evil. Just not what they did with 6.
Days, you might be able to answer this, but wasn't there a comment somewhere about how they're doing these in like 3s almost? Like the first 3 was one style of gameplay. And this is sort of like retroactively applying their line of thought to this. So like I don't believe this was this was sort of a preconceived notion, but like 1 through 3 is one style of game where you have the tank controls on pre-rendered backgrounds, and then 4 through 6 is your third-person shooter type, and then 7 through 9 is assumedly going to be first-person shooter, and then 10 would then be something else. Like I remember reading something about like that was their plan, was to structure it like
I've
that.
I've read theories about that too. Both like there's both sort of like a technical but also thematical change every like 3 games. I've also heard like a theory that Capcom just they make a hit and then it just kind of goes downhill for 2 games and they come back up.
Yeah, and that makes more sense.
Yeah, but you do kind of see that pattern though, right? Where it's like action and as for Leo's question regarding switching on to that first person, I mean, if they, as long as they sort of take advantage of the medium, and I think they did very well with that with Resident Evil 7, I don't mind it at all. It's definitely not my preference in terms of, the series. I still think, like, I fucking love the remake, and that really made me love the third person over the shoulder controls, a little bit even more than 4 in a way. But again, like, as long as they're able to effectively convey whatever they want to convey with that perspective, I don't mind. Just make it good.
No, it's interesting because I don't know why that was the first thing I thought of when I saw the new demo, or I saw footage of the new demo. I was like, oh yeah, they're still doing the first person style, and part of me was wondering, are they doing this because of some of the flack that Resident Evil 3 got? And I thought, well, probably not. They probably already had this way planned ahead. So yeah.
Yeah, well, there was a rumor about 3 that there was development on okay, now this is going out of the rumor mill, and it's probably not even true. but the talk was that there is work on a 4 remake, and there is some sort of internal debate over the direction it was taking, because M2 was working on the 4 remake, the Capcom B team that worked on Resident Evil 3, and because of the backlash, now there's sort of a reconsideration of like the direction they were taking, and they're aware that 3 was not received warmly, though it seems like the reason they think it wasn't received warmly was because it wasn't a 1-to-1 remake, and that's not the problem with 3.
No.
That's not it.
I mean, it would have been nice. Like, it wasn't the fact that it was not 1-to-1, it was the fact that it was like a fraction. Like, it did not include the things that we kind of take, like Resident Evil 2, because it evokes sort of the same like reaction, or it enhances some of the qualities that we love about the original game. We love it. Whereas 3, it just felt like a Spark Notes of Resident Evil 3.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, 2 hit
credit where credit's due. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, 2 hit the major beats that you expect to see. It's got the lab, it's got the crocodile, and they still omitted certain things, like they didn't have the spiders, they didn't have the moths, and
like the whole B-run thing doesn't really like make sense.
Right, there's no zapping system, things like that. But you don't really feel like you missed it too much because the rest of it's structured so well. It's a great time. 3,
right.
It's just you're in and you're out so quick that you barely even have time to process the game, and then the things that are there weren't taken advantage of. Nemesis exists in that game for like an hour tops, and he's just there as a set piece for the most part. He doesn't really stalk you. He goes dog mode, like 2 hours in.
Pretty fast.
Yeah.
I will give credit where credit's due, though. The one thing I think they did improve on is Carlos. Oh my god. I literally replay that game just to watch that man. And
funny enough, his part of the game, the hospital, is the best part of Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, and I think, I wish that Jill was the one that went through RPD, but I loved his commentary and I loved his hair.
Like, this is a weird fucking door.
Yeah, this is a weird fucking door. I think the voice actor actually voices Chris in 8, so I've heard.
Oh, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I wish they'd just bring Carlos back. God, he was so like good.
Settle down
at.
now.
Sorry. It's like everybody's talking about this like vampire lady, and I can't fault them because I've been attracted to Resident Evil characters too.
Man, they know how to make memeable bosses.
Yeah.
Yeah. That event, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Like, that lady's gonna turn into like a gross amalgamation of tentacles, which some people
That's
want.
That's just gonna make it worse. Leo, where can people find you online? What are you doing these days? Help people kind of know if they want to follow your content, where they should look.
Honestly, the place where everyone finds me is I run the MGN account on Twitter. So it's MGS or at MGS MGN. So yeah, it's one of the largest Metal Gear Twitter accounts. And yeah, I just keep it strictly Metal Gear. I'll post some Kojima related stuff every now and then. But that's where I'm most active. The website, I'll be honest with you, unless it's something that's really interesting regarding the series Metal Gear, or like if actual Metal Gear news comes out, I don't typically update the website as much anymore. Just because I don't want to go down the route of I'm just going to post whatever Kojima's doing on there, because I'm actually not interested in covering that anymore. I'm just strictly kind of Metal Gear. So I just try to be active. I try to keep the community active within my Twitter account. And yeah, just for, lifelong fan. That's where I'm most active though.
Cool.
Did you want to plug your stream too? Because I know I perused there a few times myself.
Sure. Just it's not even though I associate it with my Metal Gear account, mostly
we can cut this if you don't want to.
Mostly,
Yeah, no pressure.
No, mostly to scamaz people to come into my stream, you know. But but yeah, no, I stream. I typically stream like 5 days a week. I try to. This week I just didn't stream at all because work has just kept me so busy. But yeah, I stream twitch.tv/Sydney SE. And yeah, I stream variety. Now, granted, I do stream a lot of Metal Gear still because it used to be like a Metal Gear only channel. But now I just stream variety stuff. So who knows what I'll be streaming on there, but I do still stream quite a bit of Metal Gear on there. So yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. I've known you for
Yeah.
so long, and it was just a real privilege to have you on, man. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, it's been fun to watch you guys' success with this thing. It's awesome. So
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
yeah, no problem.